Most people fall apart long before life ever truly tests them. It's not that the world is unbearably cruel or that destiny is unfair. It's that the human mind often surrenders too early. They're not destroyed by circumstance, but by their own softness, by the way they let feelings override logic, the way they let others' voices drown out their own, and the way they let fear decide for them. When life applies pressure, their minds fracture because they've never built the strength to hold firm. But history whispers lessons that few ever understand. Machiavelli, the strategist of human nature, recognized something profound. The mightiest mind isn't the one filled with kindness or compassion, it's the one governed by control. He saw the mind as a throne, a sacred seat of power. And if you don't rule from it with discipline and awareness, someone else inevitably will. Your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. If they're not under your command, they become someone else's tools. Mental resilience doesn't appear by coincidence. You don't wake up one morning suddenly immune to judgment, rejection, or criticism. It's a fortress you build stone by stone through awareness, restraint, and deliberate strategy. The world will test you through rejection, betrayal, and loss. It will attack your pride, your patience, your self-belief. Most will crumble under that weight. But you are not most people. You're here because you're tired of being enslaved by emotion and circumstance. You're here because you crave sovereignty over your own focus, peace, and energy. Imagine a ruler governing a kingdom not through loud declarations, but through quiet, unwavering authority. That ruler is what you must become, the monarch of your own mind. Before you continue, ask yourself honestly, do you rule your mind, or does the world rule it for you? Because your answer to that question determines everything that follows: your destiny, your success, even your peace. If your emotions are puppets controlled by external hands, then you'll live life reacting, always in motion, never in control. But once you seize your own thoughts and discipline them, you become untouchable. Failures will still happen, but they won't define you. Betrayal will sting, but it won't break you. Chaos will swirl around you, yet you'll remain unshaken, like a mountain unmoved by storm winds. Every insult, every trial, every setback becomes a tool to refine you instead of ruin you. From this moment forward, begin thinking as Machiavelli did, as an observer of human behavior, not its victim. Detach from the pull of emotion. Use silence as a weapon and discipline as armor. Because once you conquer the battlefield of your own mind, no external force can ever invade your peace again. Say this silently to yourself and believe it. From today, I choose mastery over emotion. Power begins not in strength, but in perception. The way the world views you shapes the way it treats you, fears you, and respects you. Machiavelli knew that humanity is not governed by absolute truth, but by appearances. People rarely perceive your intent. They only interpret your image. They don't see your strategy. They see your posture, your tone, your expression. In a world obsessed with perception, whoever shapes the narrative shapes reality. You can be wise, capable, and strategic. But if you let others tell your story for you, you've handed them your crown before the war even starts. The greatest mistake you can make is assuming that truth alone is your shield. Truth is often quiet, too subtle to be heard in the noise of the crowd. What people see is what they believe. As Machiavelli once noted, men judge more by the eyes than by the hands, because all can see, but few can touch. Humanity is visual. We react to what we observe, not what is real. Before you speak, you are already being evaluated. Before you act, your energy has already told a story. People sense weakness in hesitation and strength in composure. If you look uncertain, the world will devour you. But if you carry yourself with quiet confidence, people will second-guess their instinct to challenge you. To become mentally untouchable, you must become the architect of your image. You must carefully design how your silence, your gestures, and even your mistakes are perceived. Never overexplain. The moment you start justifying yourself, you hand over your authority. The calm that follows restraint speaks louder than 1,000 excuses. Let them wonder. Let them interpret. Mystery is leverage. The less people know, the more power you possess. Every social space, every room, every group, every conversation is an invisible arena of dominance. Some chase attention. Others command it. The loud crave recognition. The wise crave control. When you enter, let your presence precede your words. Confidence is sensed before it's understood. Authority is felt before it's proven. Every gesture, every pause, every glance is a message. I am in control. You don't need applause or approval, you need precision. Mastering perception is the art of bending reality itself. A person who looks unaffected, even amidst chaos, is seen as strong. A person who looks desperate, even if truthful, is seen as weak. Appear calm, even if your heart races beneath the surface. The illusion of composure protects you better than any argument. That is influence, the psychology of perception. The mind believes what the eyes consistently see. If the world keeps seeing you as centered, decisive, and strategic, it will eventually believe it, even when you are still learning to embody that truth. Reputation becomes reality. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few know what you truly are." That is not deceit. It is design. Appear steadfast when uncertain. Appear fearless when tested. Control your eyes, your tone, your energy, because chaos feeds on visible cracks. Silence can be your greatest strength. When others shout, stay still. When they demand reactions, remain calm. Power resides in restraint. When people attempt to define you, don't argue. Redefine yourself through your actions. When they doubt you, let your results speak. When they provoke you, answer with calm precision. Control is not deceit or manipulation, it is direction. It's deciding how your presence is interpreted in a chaotic world. Once you master this, you will no longer chase validation. You will command respect. You'll stop living through other people's definitions and start shaping your own. The one who owns his narrative owns his fate. Whisper it to yourself, I command my image. I shape my reality. Now understand this. Emotion is the easiest weapon for others to use against you. The moment someone can provoke your anger or fear, they gain control of your mind. Machiavelli understood that emotionally reactive people are predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. Detachment, therefore, is not coldness. It's concealed strength. It's the art of standing in chaos without letting chaos enter you. When you learn to detach, you stop giving your energy to things unworthy of it. You no longer react to every insult, disappointment, or moment of disrespect. You choose when and how to respond, and in that gap between reaction and response lies your power. Many pride themselves on being real, mistaking emotional impulsiveness for authenticity. But unfiltered emotion isn't strength, it's exposure. When you react too quickly, you show your pressure points. You reveal your vulnerabilities, and others, knowingly or not, learn how to control you. Manipulation doesn't require brute force. It only needs access to your emotions. The wise don't suppress emotions, they command them. Machiavelli once wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally," meaning wisdom is the ability to act with purpose, not impulse. The fool reacts immediately. The wise wait, analyze, and then strike when the time is right. Detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop being enslaved by feelings. You can experience pain without being consumed by it. You can witness betrayal and still keep your inner calm. Every emotion is temporary, like a storm that passes. Don't chase the thunder. Stand still and let it roar around you. In stillness lies dominance. That calmness unsettles people because they can't read it. And what can't be read can't be controlled. Imagine two individuals facing insult. One explodes in rage, the other meets the provocation with a faint smile. The second person wins without speaking. They didn't react, they redirected. That is psychological mastery. It's not about suppression. It's about command. Control your output. Decide when to speak, when to move, when to wait. That level of discipline separates those who lead from those who follow. Machiavelli advised leaders to appear merciful, faithful, humane, and sincere, but to possess the flexibility to act otherwise when survival demanded it. Meaning, emotion is a tool, not a master. Use it only when it serves your mission. When it weakens you, silence it. Let emotion serve strategy, not sabotage it. The greatest warriors of mind are those who can walk through fire and not flinch, who can endure insult without losing dignity, who can suffer defeat without collapsing. Emotional detachment is not apathy, it's power under control. It's understanding that your reaction decides whether pain becomes your teacher or your captor. So from now on, practice this discipline. Pause before reacting. Observe before responding. The pause is where the weak dissolve and the strong evolve. If someone tries to provoke you, remember, they can only succeed if you participate. Every time you choose peace over reaction, you fortify your mind. Every time you let silence speak for you, you build your inner kingdom higher. One day you'll reach a point where nothing external can shake you, not because life has become easy, but because you've become greater than life's noise. That is the essence of mastery, to rule the self so completely that the world loses its ability to disturb your balance. You become the storm and the calm within it. The game shifts. Life stops controlling you. You begin directing it. You no longer respond, you command. You no longer chase peace, you radiate it. When you reach that state, people will misunderstand you. They'll call you emotionless, distant, or even arrogant. But you'll know the truth. Peace is not passivity. It's precision. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The calmest one usually is. Machiavelli wasn't teaching cruelty, and he was teaching control. He wasn't glorifying manipulation. He was revealing how easily the undisciplined are manipulated. His lessons remain timeless because they remind us that power begins not with conquest, but with self-command. So from this moment forward, rule your mind with clarity. Build walls of discipline and gates of observation. Protect your peace as though it were a kingdom worth defending, because it is. Every moment you choose stillness over chaos, you expand that kingdom, and when the world tests you, and it will, you'll no longer break. You'll bend, adapt, and then rise sharper than before. You'll face rejection and turn it into redirection. You'll face betrayal and use it as insight. You'll face pain and find in it your polish. Because the mentally untouchable don't escape hardship. They reshape it into armor. So, whisper this to yourself once more. From today onward, I choose mastery over emotion, clarity over reaction, and control over chaos, because in the end, the one who commands the mind commands the world. There comes a moment when you finally stop giving everything the power to disturb your peace. When you no longer feel the need to defend, to prove, or to explain yourself to people who were never meant to understand you in the first place. The day you stop reacting to everything that demands your energy is the day life begins to feel quiet, not empty, but steady. You begin to conserve your focus for things that actually matter. You realize that not every opinion deserves a response, not every accusation needs a counter, and not every battle is worth the fight. You learn that your peace is far more valuable than validation. When you no longer respond to every provocation, the world loses its grip on your mind. Emotional distance doesn't mean indifference, it means maturity. It gives you clarity where once there was confusion. Suddenly, the chaos that once overwhelmed you begins to reveal patterns. Instead of seeing only problems, you start to see causes and consequences. You understand the game instead of being played by it. What used to offend you becomes information. What used to shake you becomes data. This shift marks the beginning of silent victory, a quiet kind of strength that doesn't need recognition to exist. Mastering emotional detachment transforms you into something formidable. When you stop reacting to chaos, chaos loses its control. Insults may reach your ears, but they no longer enter your mind. Betrayal might bruise your heart, but it cannot break your foundation. Failure becomes nothing more than feedback. You may bend under pressure, but you never snap. You move through the turbulence of life not with fear, but with stillness, because no one can unbalance a mind that refuses to be moved. That is true peace, not the absence of storms, but the ability to stand still in the center of them. Whisper it to yourself. I feel deeply, but I never fall apart. Sooner or later, everyone will face betrayal. The only difference is whether you expect it or not. Betrayal is not some rare misfortune. It's a recurring truth of human behavior. The earlier you accept that loyalty often expires the moment it no longer benefits someone, the less power it will have to wound you. Most people are loyal only to their own convenience. When the situation changes, so does their devotion. Machiavelli warned centuries ago that loyalty lasts only as long as interest aligns. When interest ends, so does allegiance. To survive in such a world, One must trade blind trust for strategic awareness. Don't depend on promises. Build systems that sustain you even when promises are broken. Don't lean on people. Design structures that protect you when they leave. People suffer not because betrayal exists, but because they keep pretending it shouldn't. They expect consistency from a world that runs on self-interest. But understanding the selfish nature of humanity doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you prepared. Machiavelli once observed that a promise made was necessary in the past. A promise broken is necessary in the present. What he meant is timeless. People adapt their loyalty to their advantage, and it is foolish to take that personally. Betrayal isn't always rooted in malice. It is often just human weakness revealing itself. Once you accept this, you stop taking treachery as tragedy and start treating it as information. You begin to see who values gain over integrity, who speaks loyalty but serves convenience, and who wears friendship only as long as it benefits them. True strategists don't rely on loyalty. They rely on structure. They don't build survival on faith in people but on foresight. When you trust in emotion, you hand your stability to others. When you trust in design, you claim independence. Create systems that continue working even if everyone disappears. Build a position in life that no single betrayal can destroy. This isn't coldness, it's intelligence. Emotional restraint doesn't destroy connection. It refines it. You begin to value actions more than words, patterns more than promises. Expecting betrayal doesn't make you bitter. It makes you observant. You stop investing in illusions and start reading the truth beneath appearances. You see flattery as camouflage, not kindness. You pay attention to behavior instead of rhetoric. You stop confusing warmth with loyalty. Machiavelli believed that the highest form of power was foresight, the ability to see deception before it happens. A wise mind doesn't rely on hope. It relies on observation. He once wrote that a man should not expose himself to unnecessary danger, but should be ready to sacrifice everything when the moment truly calls for it. This was not a pessimistic view. It was realism. It teaches selective care. You don't stop caring. You simply choose who and what deserves your energy. You learn to keep your heart open but your eyes sharper. Many are destroyed not by betrayal itself, but by their refusal to believe it could ever happen. They live in denial until it's too late, until the knife is already buried in their trust. The Machiavellian mind has no room for such illusions. It doesn't hate the betrayer. It studies them. It recognizes human inconsistency and plans accordingly. It doesn't lock its heart behind walls. It builds gates that only open for those who have earned their place through loyalty, proven over time and through adversity. Even then, it never forgets that anyone can change. That awareness isn't cynicism, it's wisdom. It allows you to remain alert without becoming paranoid, cautious without growing cold, aware without losing compassion. When you expect betrayal, you remove its power to surprise you. You become unbreakable because nothing shocks you anymore. Strategy becomes your shield, foresight your armor. You stop chasing loyalty and start commanding respect. Because those who anticipate betrayal never bow to it. Whisper it again, I trust my strategy, not sympathy. In a world addicted to noise, calmness is a form of intimidation. The most unshakable power often wears the quietest face. People misunderstand calmness as passivity, but Machiavelli knew better. He saw composure as a weapon of psychological warfare. When others panic and you remain still, you project superiority without uttering a single word. A steady mind sees what the frantic overlook. The calm thinker notices patterns hidden behind emotion, motives behind words, traps behind kindness. When you appear serene amid disorder, people sense your control. That calmness makes them uneasy because they can't read you. They can't predict your reaction, and what cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. Calmness becomes dominance. Machiavelli once said that a ruler must learn how not to be good. He wasn't glorifying cruelty. He was describing the necessity of emotional discipline. Being kind is easy. Staying calm when the world burns is divine. When the world expects you to break and you don't, their illusion of power over you collapses. Your stillness becomes a mirror that reflects their instability. Your silence becomes their discomfort. Most people are slaves to reaction. They speak too quickly, decide too soon, and destroy their peace in the process. The strategist waits, observes, and moves only when it matters. Patience is not weakness, it's control over time. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must be both a lion and a fox to frighten wolves and a fox to detect traps. That balance demands a calm exterior and a calculating mind beneath it. Be like still water on the surface, but as sharp as ice beneath. Never let anyone see your anxiety, your uncertainty, or your fear. Let them wonder if you even feel it. The less they know about your emotional state, the more unpredictable you become. And unpredictability is power. When irritation comes, when insult finds you, ask yourself one question: does reacting serve my purpose? If not, stay still. That pause, that silence, unsettles people far more than anger ever could. Calmness ends arguments before they begin. The cold mind doesn't seek victory through noise. It wins through energy. Even in hostility, keep your tone slow, your movements measured, your gaze steady. Power is communicated through stillness. The calmest person in the room is often the one who controls it. This discipline isn't about burying your emotions. It's about performing with precision. You become the director of your own presence. Every movement, every word, every silence serves your advantage. Walk slowly when others rush. Smile when they expect rage. Remain composed when they expect panic. Eventually, that composure becomes your shield. No one can tell where your breaking point lies because you never show it. You become the calm in every storm, the observer among reactors, the strategist among victims. Whisper it again. My calmness is my power. Silence, when mastered, is not emptiness. It is control distilled to its purest form. The more you speak, the more you reveal. Every unnecessary word opens a window into your mind, allowing others to predict you. And once they can predict you, they can control you. Machiavelli understood that power thrives in mystery. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is communication perfected. When you say less, people imagine more. They begin to fill the silence with their own interpretations, assumptions, and insecurities. Their uncertainty becomes your advantage. The quiet one is never overlooked. They are watched, studied, and speculated about. The world often underestimates those who stay silent until it's too late. By the time they act, the game has already been won. Everyone speaks to be heard, but true power doesn't need to announce itself. Those who constantly explain themselves are prisoners of approval. The powerful explain nothing. When you argue, you admit that the other person's opinion carries weight. When you justify, you show that their judgment matters. Silence dismantles those illusions. It says, I owe no explanations. Silence is a risk, yes, because it invites misunderstanding, but it also commands fear. People fear what they cannot interpret. The quiet person in a crowd is not ignored. They are analyzed. Their mystery unsettles the talkative. In any room, the one who listens more than they speak becomes the most dangerous presence. To master silence, you must overcome the ego's hunger to be seen, understood, or defended. Most people talk to soothe their insecurities, to prove their worth. But every explanation leaks confidence. A Machiavellian mind speaks only with intention, never out of habit, only when words serve a purpose. Learn to be comfortable in the pauses, in the unspoken tension. Let others fill the silence with their noise. In doing so, they reveal themselves. When you remain quiet, people expose their weaknesses while trying to understand yours. Silence turns every conversation into a mirror, reflecting others' truths but hiding your own. In arguments or negotiations, silence tilts the field in your favor. The impatient reveal too much. The arrogant trap themselves in their own words. The more you observe, the more you know. The more you know, the less you need to speak. Silence is not the absence of power. It is its refinement. Like a sword kept sheathed, it gathers energy until the perfect moment. When you finally choose to speak, your words cut sharper because they are rare. The world assumes that quiet people think deeply, and that assumption itself becomes strength. You don't need to be the loudest voice. You just need to be the one who speaks least and means most. Over time, silence becomes your aura. People will start to tread carefully around your stillness. They won't know whether to fear you or respect you. And that's exactly how power feels. When you finally speak, every syllable will carry the weight of thunder, not because you shout, but because you seldom do. Power doesn't roar, it resonates. Keep your plans concealed, your emotions unreadable, your words minimal. When others can't decode you, they can't defeat you. Silence isn't weakness, it's sovereignty. It keeps you untamed, unbroken, and always one move ahead. Whisper it to yourself one last time. My silence is my shield, and my calm is my crown. Silence is not emptiness. It's power in its purest form. When you understand that speaking less often says more, you begin to see how control works in its most elegant shape. The one who holds back words holds back energy, and energy unspent becomes influence. My silence carries strength because it leaves space for others to wonder. When they can't read you, they can't predict you. And what can't be predicted can't be controlled. But silence alone isn't enough. You must also master the art of absence. Constant presence dulls impact. The more available you make yourself, the less value people attach to your time, your ideas, and your essence. Even the most dazzling light becomes ordinary when it burns without pause. Machiavelli knew that rarity amplifies power. He recognized that to be seen as exceptional, you must not be seen too often. Presence, when constant, becomes background noise. But absence creates gravity. Absence isn't weakness, nor is it avoidance. It's a deliberate move, a calculated silence that multiplies your value. It is the space that breeds curiosity, admiration, and quiet authority. When you're not easily reachable, people start to replay your words, dissect your actions, and fill your silence with their imagination. They begin to wonder what you're planning, what you're thinking, where you've gone. And that wondering is power. Timing is everything. The wise understand that influence doesn't come from being seen everywhere, but from appearing at the right moment. Appear too often, and your presence loses its magic. Appear selectively, and every entrance feels monumental. The insecure crave attention because they equate visibility with importance. The disciplined withdraw intentionally, allowing scarcity to deepen their impact. Machiavelli observed that humans are driven by two primal forces, love and fear. The rare soul understands how absence can evoke both. When you step back, some will miss you. Others will worry about losing your favor. Either emotion gives you control, overexposure kills respect. When people think they've figured you out, they stop valuing your mystery. But when you're slightly out of reach, their imagination becomes your ally. They begin to overestimate your capability, your intention, your depth, all because they can't see everything. Mystery multiplies power. Absence also serves as purification. Constant exposure drains your mind and scatters your focus. The Machiavellian thinker values solitude not as an escape, but as recalibration. When you remove yourself from noise, you start hearing the truth again. You begin to see what the crowd, trapped in its own chatter, is too distracted to notice. The masses move with emotion. The strategist moves with clarity. To master absence, you must learn to vanish without announcing it. Don't warn anyone that you're stepping back. Don't justify your silence. Simply disappear when needed and return only when it serves purpose. Let your reappearance feel intentional, not accidental. Those who truly value your presence will notice your absence. Those who don't never mattered in the first place. The strongest minds understand rhythm, the subtle art of when to advance and when to retreat. Machiavelli advised rulers to guard their visibility carefully, to understand that distance sustains authority. A fire that burns too bright too long burns out, but one that burns in intervals lasts through the night. You don't need to be everywhere to be remembered. You only need to be unforgettable when you appear. Let your absence echo louder than others' constant noise. Let people wonder where you've gone, why you withdrew, what your silence means. Curiosity is control. The less they know, the more they think about you. The more they think, the more power you possess. Even when unseen, strategic disappearance also reveals truth. When you withdraw, you'll see who remains. Some will vanish with your silence, proving they were there for attention, not connection. Others will stay consistent. They're your true allies. Absence is a filter that separates convenience from loyalty. It teaches you who stands beside you when the lights are off. People who seek constant validation measure their worth through reaction. Likes, responses, praise. But reaction is fragile. Real worth is measured by silence, by what remains when you're not there. If people still speak your name, still quote your words, still feel your influence long after you've stepped away, you've built something that doesn't depend on presence. You've become a force, not just a face. Master absence, and you command attention without chasing it. You transform from a person into a presence, from a presence into a legend. The world is drawn to what it cannot have, and respects what it cannot control. Withdraw not to hide, but to remind others that your energy, time, and access are privileges, not guarantees. Whisper it to yourself. My absence multiplies my power. Everything begins and ends in the mind. Every empire, every downfall, every victory and defeat originates from a single point: your thoughts. To rule the world around you, you must first rule the world within. If you can't govern your mind, no strategy, wealth, or opportunity will ever last. Machiavelli understood that the truest battles are fought in silence, within the fortress of one's own thoughts. The world belongs to those who can direct their focus, while others drown in distraction. To command your mind is to master every battlefield, because every external challenge is born from an internal reaction. Power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from commanding yourself when everything around you demands collapse. The strongest aren't those who dominate people. They are those who remain steady when life attacks them from all sides. When you possess your inner world completely, no external chaos can truly wound you. Most people lose before the battle even begins. They let anxiety lead their choices, fear dictate their words, and emotion distort their perspective. Their minds move like leaves in a storm, driven by external forces, blown by temporary winds. Machiavelli saw this weakness clearly. He once wrote that, to judge a ruler's intelligence, one should observe the company he keeps. What he meant is that your environment mirrors your mind. If your surroundings are chaotic, your thoughts are undisciplined. If your life is full of noise, your focus has no guard. Control starts with awareness. Watch your thoughts as if they belong to someone else. Don't condemn them, but don't obey them either. Train your thoughts like an army, each one disciplined, each one knowing its place. Your mind can either be your greatest ally or your greatest traitor. Left unruled, it will turn against you, filling your decisions with doubt and your emotions with fear. But once mastered, it becomes sharper than any weapon. True power is not fueled by aggression. It is sustained by composure. The strategist doesn't rush. He moves with precision, not haste. Each decision is deliberate, not emotional. He doesn't dwell on the past, nor does he panic about the future. He stays rooted in the present, where control truly exists. Mental mastery is a lifelong practice. It demands that you replace fear with logic, emotion with intention, distraction with focus. Every time you resist the urge to react, you strengthen your mental fortress. Every time you choose stillness over impulse, you forge resilience. Eventually, your mind stops working against you and begins working for you. Once aligned internally, the world loses its power to shake you. Insults lose meaning. Betrayal loses sting. Failure loses permanence. Power isn't the ability to avoid hardship. It's the ability to interpret it correctly. Machiavelli taught that reason must always guide desire. Desire blinds judgment. Reason illuminates it. The one who can remain detached yet decisive becomes unshakable. Every empire begins as a single disciplined thought. Every downfall begins as a distracted one. When your mind is ruled by fear, the world manipulates you through it. When it is ruled by discipline, the world must adapt to you. Control of thought equals control of destiny. You stop living reactively and begin moving intentionally. Every step guided, every choice purposeful. Rule your mind like a monarch rules a kingdom. Guard it fiercely against invasion, from ignorance, from negativity, from doubt. Feed it focus. Fortify it with patience. Let silence be its throne. When you rule your thoughts, peace stops being something you search for. It becomes something you radiate. Whisper it again. My mind answers only to me. Being mentally untouchable doesn't mean becoming numb or heartless. It doesn't mean rejecting emotion or denying connection. It means nothing external has the power to command you. It means insults, betrayal, and failure can no longer rewrite your narrative. You remain the architect of your reactions, the designer of your peace. Every hardship becomes a lesson. Every conflict becomes information. Every obstacle becomes training. Machiavelli taught that lasting power is earned through discipline, awareness, and strategic restraint, not luck or fleeting charm. When you embody these lessons, you stop surviving the world and begin navigating it with precision and calm. Control starts within, and when you command your inner space, the outer world bends around it. Detachment guards your energy. Silence enhances your authority. Absence multiplies your value. Calmness becomes your armor. Strategy protects you from betrayal. Perception molds the world's reaction to you. Each of these principles reinforces the others. Together, they form an unbreakable fortress of mental strength. The untouchable mind doesn't react. It directs. It doesn't chase peace. It creates it. It doesn't resist life. It orchestrates it, step by step, choice by choice. It builds an empire within and moves through chaos with unbothered precision. If these truths resonate with you, act on them. Reflect on them daily. Share them with someone who needs to awaken their strength. Remember, mental mastery isn't a single revelation. It's a lifelong journey. Every lesson refines your focus, sharpens your awareness, and strengthens your spirit. Silence, strategy, self-control. These are not just concepts. They are a way of life. Walk that path. Build your strength quietly. Live it fully. Let life test you again and again, and watch how nothing can disturb your center. In the end, everything returns to a single truth. When you rule your mind, you rule your world.